So, this is my final evaluation for the FMP project that I did. So, what I plan to do is 4 songs released in an EP, released onto Spotify and released onto Spotify and YouTube. And then do a live performance. Did I tick those boxes? Yes. They are released, all 4 songs are released, and we did a performance of Storm for the final major project performance. So, what went well? Well, what went well is that we got everything done within the time frame. We got everything done. We got it all set out in our little 12-week planner. We were actually ahead of schedule, which actually really did help us, because we came across some problems where we were sick. So there's only 2 of us in our band, and at least one of us was sick during the last 6, half of the schedule. At least one of us was sick each week, so that really did set us back. So having the songs already made within the first 4 weeks, made and written and recorded, it really did help us, because it meant that we could kind of lean back a little bit and say, oh, we got this stuff done. It gave us time to think about what we're doing. So that big rush of those 4 weeks at the beginning, getting everything done, getting a song done each week, did help us in the long run. If we'd have actually stuck to the timetable and didn't rush, we wouldn't have got this project done. So it does help that we did have a timetable, because it allows us to see what we were doing and what needed to be doing, but it also helped that we did go ahead of the timetable and get stuff done, because really it was a matter of just quick, we got to do this. So that was really good. One thing I didn't particularly like about the songs is that they seemed a little bit scuffed in the mixing. I wish that we would have had more time to do the mixing. If we'd have come back to it and done mixing maybe in a further date, then if we'd have maybe an extra week or 2, I really would have loved to have paid attention to mixing and look into it a little bit further and really figure out how to really layer the vocals and everything like that, because I found especially, I think it was with I think it's either Storm or Black Diamond, one of the songs, the vocals are really muddy in the mix. They're really below everything, so you can hear that it sounds like it's almost underwater, so which would make sense for Storm, but not as much so for Black Diamond. So in that sense, I didn't mind it. It does work, but I'm not necessarily a fan of it. I wish that we could have had more time to look into the effects, really look into that reverb, that kind of thing. It did feel a little bit rushed, but then again, we were sick, so we did have that kind of leading for us, essentially. Another thing is with the recordings did feel very rushed, so essentially a lot of the instruments in some of the songs, there's always at least one instrument that does go out at times. The timings weren't that great. If we'd have more time, instead of rushing, we could have stuck to the timetable a little bit more and essentially given that time to rehearse the songs on all the different instruments that we had, because there's only 2 of us. We're doing all of the instruments, whether that be through a MIDI or actually playing them live for the Scarlet. So it's really interesting how that kind of came out, because there's some points in the bass where I play, especially in Storm or Black Diamond, where I'm doing these little da 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 da, and you can very clearly tell, because it's so high up in the mix, that it's just completely out of time. So it's a little bit scuffed, but I think with this project, it's more of a passion project to share to people that really want to listen, to this type of music. I think there's this air of perfection that kind of needs to happen. Necessarily, I don't think that the industry is so pressuring to put essentially perfection on any musician, so we were trying not to worry too much about perfecting the craft, because we wanted this kind of DIY feel to the song, to make it feel more human, to make it feel more scuffed. So in a sense it did kind of work out, because humans are not perfect, and I think it's really nice. It's scuffed in a kind of charming way of like, oh yeah, we're beginner musicians, this isn't going to be great, but it is charming. It is charming in its own way, and I do like it. I do essentially like it, because I think it just shows like the progression, the possession of it all. It's not too bad. So let's go over like the remakes and stuff, like for the two songs, Black Diamond and Storm, actually, because I feel as if there's like a major improvement to what the songs originally were to what they are now. So we wrote Black Diamond back in 2021 or 2022. I think it was 2022. We wrote Black Diamond back in 2022. With the inspiration of this little newspaper strip saying, the Enigma diamond has been resold for like millions and millions of pounds. So what we did is we created the song from inspiration of that. And one of the things that I always had wanted to do in a song was to add a key change. And we nailed that. We nailed the key change. We did a half step up key half step up? Yes, we did a half a step up key change, so that the song, it modulates upwards. Right at the end of the song, where we go through the bridge, and then there's a little bass slide that goes whoop, and then you go into the new key and the modulation, which I absolutely love. I would have loved to do something that is called a Disney flip, which is basically a whole step of modulation. Instead of half a step, but we found that it was a lot easier to get myself in key, to get all of the chords right, if we'd had just done the half a step. It works completely fine, and I think it sounds absolutely brilliant. And also the bridge, we completely changed the bridge, because I didn't like the bridge. I personally didn't like the bridge. Zero didn't personally like the bridge either. We didn't like the bridge at all. So what we did is we completely changed it. We completely changed it from dreaming me, drowning in greed, dreaming me, drowning in greed. It's just so back and forth. We hated it. So what we had was this bridge that kind of flowed back from the verses and jumped into the key change. It gave us this little bit of flow. It gave us a little bit of flow where we could just jump into that key change, and I really, really like that. And it turned out so good. Like it's nice. It makes the brain go all flowy. It is really nice, and I really like that key change a lot. And then Storm. I love Storm. Storm is like mine and Zero's love child. We love it to pieces. Storm, we wrote back. We wrote it back in like last year or the year before. Last year or the year before we wrote Storm, and we wanted to rejig the song because we had ordered the verses so that they didn't make sense. Like, basically, we have the storm, and then suddenly in the second verse, the storm is gone. So we wanted to add a little third verse in there. Technically it's the second, but a third verse in there, which tells the story through the storm. Like, as the storm starts, through the eye of the storm, and then out of the storm. Kind of having that story flowing a little bit more within the song, and I really, really like that. I like to focus on things like that are lyrically throughout the song, and within like the melody aspect as well, we also changed the melody up for the second verse, and we also added harmonies in there as well for the new second verse, which I thought just really worked out. It in a sense, it just did work out. It made the story flow a little bit more, and it blew my mind, essentially. It was really, really good. The 2 new songs that we did, I felt that they were rushed. I love them. I felt that they were rushed. Over the 2 songs, Love's a Beach and Sea Lion, I prefer Sea Lion. Mostly because the vocals, they remind me of Liliane's Somewhere Only We Know. I really like the song, Somewhere Only We Know, but the way that I did it, the kind of tone of voice that I have when I sing, really reminds me of that. And especially during the bridge with the layering vocals like underneath of the chorus, which we have never done before. We have never ever layered the chorus, like the chorus melodies, underneath another part. So essentially it's creating these layers that I thought really, really worked out within the piece. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And essentially what happened was within Love's the Beach is it was kind of lilted as well. Like the way that I sung the song was very, very lilted. It also reminds me of a artist called Sparkbird, who we've recently been getting into. Like his kind of especially in the song November, like his vocals are very up and down jumpy. It's like one of those little jumping beans with the bugs in. Like it reminds me of those. It's up down. It's almost like springing. So well, get momentum or repeat. So that's not even the right one. That's not even the right song. That's Fish in a Birdcage. But also the very similar vocals. November's I didn't matter. There we go. That is November. But it is my tongue parallelly bleeds. Those it's the little jumps that happen between the songs. So I really wanted to bring that into Sea Lion. So it did work out very, very well, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever sung. Not necessarily my favorite song, but in terms of its musicality and stuff like that, and the way that it just flows, it is one of my favorites. But it's my favorite song I've ever sung. In terms of originals, because it's nice. It feels vulnerable. It's very, very vulnerable. So another thing that I didn't really like is that obviously it did feel rushed. So a lot of the lyrics we'd bring in from previous times. So it's I wanted to update the lyrics, but we didn't really have enough time to do that. And that comes in Love's the Beach. Love's the Beach was some very, very old lyrics, and it was written very, very quickly. So I didn't really have a good melody in my head at the time. So it was just kind of done. Yep, donezo. So it felt very, very rushed in the sense. When it actually came to recording, one of the things that we found is that we got into a lot of arguments, me and Zero, about the way that we should do things. So, for example, we had one of the situations was there was the headphones were plugged into the Scarlett, and they weren't plugged into the PC that we normally have when we were deciding why would we want to plug into Scarlett versus the PC, what are the settings going to have to change, what are doing that. And then there was also another situation where we had a microphone stand. So the microphone stand that we usually have for our condenser. Yes, condenser. The one that we normally have for our condenser microphone it's like a raining tripod. And it's a tripod, goes up, angles out, you can direct it up and down. We didn't have that in the day that we recorded one of the songs, and I think this was Love's the Beach. So what we did for the con is we were struggling to decide whether we should go and get a new tripod or use the one that's already in the room where it just goes straight up. We decided to use the one that goes straight up because I suggested to just have a Zero sit on the table and then have the cajon facing, and we'd line it up like that. It did work. It was a little bit uncomfortable, but it did work. But we had we had to really come to those compromises, because it's very, very difficult working in a duo when you don't have other people suggesting ideas as well. So you really have to kind of nail a compromise there. But in a sense, I think I wish we could have done more with the performance. I wish I could have picked up a bass, but we were worried about it feeling more acoustic. We wanted a nice acoustic raw performance for Storm, because Storm is a very vulnerable song, especially in terms of vocals. Not as vulnerable as Sea Lion. Sea Lion is very difficult to sing, but Storm, it is up there. So I didn't want to bring the bass in, because I really wanted to focus on the kind of very low tones of my voice. So having the bass in there would have distracted from the fact that I was singing this song. It's almost like a whisper. Storm is almost like a whisper. It reminds me like of an eye of the song, where it goes all calm. Like you're singing in this, and then there's so many in the original track. There's so many things going on around you. There's the distortion of the guitar and the bass, but then there's just like these nice, like very rounded vocals that just kind of underlie everything, and it creates a really nice kind of very vulnerable song with so much going on in the background, as if you're traveling through a storm. So having that performance, it was lovely. I wish we could have done more. We were planning on doing City of Stars as well, but it was cut for time, so we decided not to do it. It was cut for time, so it would have been one that we would love to do, because again, it's another vulnerable song. It's not an original song. It's by it's from the movie musical La La Land, and La La Land's a very, very good musical. So we decided that we would have done the song there, but so since that was cut for time, we only did the one. But I think it worked out very, very fine in the long run. I think it was still a very good attempt and a good go. So, I think that's enough of me talking. Is there anything else I want to cover off the top of my head? I don't think so. We've gone through recording, we've gone through mixing, we've gone through... In conclusion, we're doing it in conclusion. In conclusion, in the future, I'd love more time on things to really look through things, to really look through the different stages and process. So research, doing the actual research, doing the mixing, doing the recording, doing the writing, doing it like really step by step and really taking our time with it. I wish we had more time. And also in future, just really, really looking into how to properly mix it. But I think it was good. I think it turned out really well. It is scuffed, but for what we are, for what me and Zero are, for what the type of music we make, the type of people that we are, I think scuffed kind of fits it. It does fit. So yeah, I think it did turn out well. We ticked all the boxes, and yeah, I think that's just about it. So thank you for sitting through this very, very long stage of marking. I do apologize for the plus nearly 100 videos that we had for our evidence, and I hope this has been like a miniature movie. So thank you, and yeah, I think that concludes everything. So there you go.